Ugh. I'm the Lazy Quilter, and today we're going to be doing half square triangles. Half square triangles are in just about every basic quilt block you can think of, especially star blocks. And quilt blocks are made of very few basic shapes. We just take them and shade them differently and put them together in different patterns to make all the blocks that are out there. So if you can learn half square triangles and flying geese, you can make just about any block out there pretty easily. This technique, we're using square cuts instead of triangle cuts. In theory, triangle cuts are saving us fabric. They don't really save you fabric when you mess it up and you have to cut a whole nother triangle, which happens. So this way we don't have to, cut triangles, we're just cutting squares, and then we're gonna square them down. This is really the easiest technique to get the perfect half square triangle. And you're gonna waste maybe a ½ inch of fabric out of each cut. So I think it's pretty worth it, but each quilter is different. So let's take a look. So we're going to begin with our square on our cutting table. We're going to mark a line from corner to corner. You're going to want to do these on all your blocks that you are using for your half square triangles. Now you only have to do it on one color. So for instance, my half square triangle is going to be beige and turquoise. I'm just marking all my beige squares. So I mark from one corner to its opposite corner. Then I'm going to pair each of my turquoise squares with a beige square, and I'm going to lay them right sides together. This is a sandwich we make for our half square triangles. These two pieces will actually turn into 2 half square triangles, so you get to make 2 at a time. After we put them together, we're going to come over to our sewing machine. I've got my 1/4 inch foot on, and I'm going to start sewing on a little leader fabric. With batik, sometimes this is helpful when we don't want the fabric to go down into our machine. Sometimes batiks can be fussy about that. So I put my 1/4 inch foot on my line and I sew down. So basically we're sewing a 1/4 inch from each side of the line. So I sew down one side, and then I'm going to sew down the second side. For you guys who are beginners, I'm using a 1.8 stitch length on my sewing machine, and I'm just using a 90-14 needle. I'm going to sew down the other side, and then we're going to be ready to press. And we basically have half square triangles made at this point. So we're going to cut and go over to the ironing board where we're going to cut these two apart. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut down the line that I marked earlier. This doesn't have to be a precise cut. You can cut pretty jaggedy and it's okay. If you want to be precise, you can cut with your rotary too. It doesn't matter. So next we're going to press these, and I like to press my seams open. So what I'll do is I'll hit my square with a little bit of starch to help it flatten out, and I will press up to one side of the seam, and then I'll press up to another. Also, I am using a high heat on my iron and no steam. That's pretty much my settings for all my ironing, in case you're wondering. Next I take my finger and I'm opening up this seam so I can get the nose of my iron in there and press that seam flat. Having a flat seam helps you avoid a lip on the other side. Also help your points come out when you're doing a star block, so important to remember. So I give a little press on the top, and then we're ready to trim down. Now my blocks are pretty big. I started out with a 3 3/4 inch block, and I'm trimming them down to 2.5. That's not normal for me, I just miscut. But anyway, we're gonna find our 45-degree mark on our ruler. It's that line, and we're going to place it in the seam of our half square triangle. This is going to allow us to trim all sides evenly, so our two fabrics coming together are coming together in the corner. Very important. So I trim one side just a little bit, and then I flip it over, and this is going to be my precision cutting. This is where I'm going to trim it down to 2.5. So I'm going to put that 45 mark in my seam, and then I'm going to go down to 2.5, and I'm going to trim one side and trim the other. And that's the basics of making a half square triangle. As far as cutting is concerned, when you're cutting your squares, you can, if you want a half square triangle that is, for instance, 3.5 inches when you're finished, I would cut your 2 beginning blocks at least 4 inches big. Now you can go much bigger, but I wouldn't go any smaller. Doing it this way allows you to cut blocks instead of triangles. That's my video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I am the Lazy Quilter. If you like this video, please subscribe and watch my other ones. Place comments and questions below. I'm always looking for feedback. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter and my website at So It Goes Quilt Shop. Thanks guys, I'll see you for the next video.